All right, what is going on, everyone? Sorry about that. It's welcome to the live stream. Thank you so much for coming. I'm here with my buddy Uncle Luke, and we are all super pumped to be here. How you doing, Luke?
Great. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited. Uh, Looking to have some fun today.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you all, everyone, so much for all the comments you left on the community post that we put earlier on this week. We have all that set to answer your questions. Both me and Luke have some really good answers for you guys. And of course, going to answer your comments as well and questions in the live stream. So let's get started here. We got Mr. Cesar Joel in the house saying, Luke and Stan, the definition of greatness. We appreciate you, sir. You are great. But he also goes on to say that we're pretty cute, too. What do you think about that, Luke?
We're under 6 feet tall, so we're either if you're over 6 feet tall, you're handsome. If you're under 6 feet tall, you're cute. And like I said before, I've been called way worse. I will take cute any day of the week.
That's right. Well, not all of us can be 6'7" like Spencer, so there's that too. All right, so we have Mr. Joe Barreto. Whippa! Hola, Stan and Uncle Luke. Thank you so much, Joe. Hope you're still here. We love your content. Thank you so much for all that you do for us. We got Rodell Media saying, great upcoming collab. John's in the house too. Uncle Luke and Stan, good day to you, gentlemen. Excellent. We got Anthony Venture in the house as well. Anthony Venture also doing his live stream with Costas after we finish ours, so definitely hopping over there when we're all done. I think it's around 12 o'clock Pacific for him. Sendo's in the house saying it's, I don't know what that is. It's like an emoji with a band-aid. Can you see what that is, Uncle Luke?
I don't know what that is, but
I don't know what that is either.
might have some diamonds in it. Maybe.
Well, welcome, Sendo. We appreciate you being there. We got Dizzy G here saying two of the best. Thank you so much, sir. We have Mr. Chad Money Minutes. Morning, all. It's morning here in the West Coast, but I believe it's afternoon for you guys in the East Coast, right, Uncle Luke?
It's 1 p.m.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. So we got Eric Gao in the house, finally free for live stream. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate you being here. And we have Mr. Zizis Chris. I always feel like I butcher your name, but thank you for showing up here today. Zizis. Honestly, that's pretty good. All right. James Chapman's here in the house too. Anthony, love the content, man. Keep the good work. So Anthony's here too. So great. That's perfect. And we also have Keith, who has some great questions for us. We're going to get to those too. Stan and Luke united again. You know, I think Luke and I, we have a lot of similarities in the way that we think. We're kind of, I wouldn't say in the same demographic, but I think we have the same mindset when it comes to credit cards. What do you think about that, Uncle Luke?
Yeah, I think we have more similarities than differences, but maybe we'll find out today that those differences kind of stand out.
Yeah,
we'll see.
Well,
you know, I think there's always room. There's always room for that kind of conflict and that kind of difference.
Well, one of the fun things about these live streams and just seeing content creators in general is that we all have our own different flavor of how we view things. And there's no right or wrong answer to anything that we say. It's just a matter of kind of what your situation is going to be. And so if you figure out for you, you know, based off kind of what our experiences are, you can develop your own strategy for your own credit cards. And that's why we do what we do, just to, you know, come up here, have a good time, have fun with this. And so we're gonna have a really good time today. Thomas Barkulu is in the house. Stan, thank you for the videos on the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve. It has simplified my system and enhanced my overall returns. That is my new favorite card. I love that card because I just use it for basically everything. And so if you can get it, I highly, highly recommend it.
And you know, that's probably where another one of our differences, because the strength of that card is the mobile wallet. And I just realized after watching your videos on it that the only thing I use mobile wallet for is gas.
Oh, really?
Now I also don't spend most of my own money, but I very rarely use a mobile wallet for anything else.
Yeah, I think it's more of a where you live too. Like I know in my area, a lot of merchants take mobile wallet. It's super helpful. And so for me, the transition was super simple. But we'll get into that in a little bit for sure. Let's take a look at our first question here. Oh, before we'll do this first. Hey, James Chaffin. Hey guys, love your content. Are the concerns about booking travel through a portal versus directly with the airline overblown or legitimate? Does booking through a portal complicate things? What do you think about that, Uncle Luke?
Well, I think a lot of times everything is going to be just fine. But I will give you an example of something that happened to me. I booked a hotel through American Express's travel portal, not Find Hotels, not the hotel collection, just a regular hotel through their portal. And it was in New Orleans. And I had to cancel. So actually, I think it was something that I booked. And then a few hours later, I realized I had to cancel. So it was something brand new. So I call American Express. I chat with American Express. They say, you have to call the hotel. So I call the hotel in New Orleans, and obviously the guy at the hotel says, this was booked on Expedia. You have to call them. So now you're like, oh, wow, wait a minute. So I get back to American Express. They say, hey, listen, you have to call the hotel. I call the hotel a second time, and he says, listen, man, I would love to refund you your money, but you have to do it. Whatever it was, I don't remember. I got my money back, but yes, it was a pain in the butt. Whereas, more likely than not, had I just booked it directly with the hotel, it would have been easier to just take care of. But
Yeah.
at the same time, I've had problems with the Conrad in Las Vegas where they refused to refund my reservation, and I had to call Hilton. So you might have those issues no matter how you do it. I think most of the time, booking through the portal will be fine, but you may have that one time that kind of puts that bad taste in your mouth forever.
Yeah, I'm all about booking through directly to the airline. I mean, I use the US Bank Altitude Reserve for that, and they have that RTR situation. So I never have to deal with a portal ever, which is the best. I think the only thing I would say is that if you want to book through like the Chase Ultra Rewards portal with the Chase Sapphire Reserve, that would be a great way to get that 1.5x back. But that's kind of my view on airline portals versus directly with the airline or hotel. But so I don't have a lot of experience with portals because I try not to use them. I want to make sure we get the super chat in from Mr. Keith S. Thank you for the $5 spot, sir. By the way, all super chats will be divvied up in some way, shape, or form between me and Uncle Luke. Either I'll like send him some super chats during his lives or something. We'll figure it out, but I'll tally it up at the end of the day and see kind of what happens here. But I appreciate you, sir. Looking forward to the live. My first super chat with my new built card. I got 5x on this. Well, congratulations, Keith, on your new built card. I love that card too. That's my second favorite card in my setup currently. And so I think that if you can get the built card, it's a great no annual fee card that, obviously gets you points on rent, but it's pretty good for getting that 3x points back on restaurants and the built rent day. If you can pound out that, $5,000 spend and everything else, or 2,500 on the travel, you can get some good points on that rent day. So way to go, Keith. Good job.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So we have a lot of other comments here. We have Cesar saying cuteness overload. He loves us. So we love you too, Cesar. You also are very cute.
Wait till he sees us down in Puerto Rico with our bikinis on.
Oh boy. I gotta get bikini ready. I'm not quite there yet.
That's okay.
We have Kiki Adventures here from the East Coast. Thank you, Kiki, for showing up. We appreciate you being here. Let's see here. We got Sean in the house. Let's get it. Teach us. Well, we'll be teaching you guys in a moment. That's for sure. Joe If says it's Luke, or is Luke going to share his arm workout? I don't know. Are you going to share that out today, Luke, or what?
Listen, like a lot of things I say, a lot of folks won't agree with it, but you don't do arm workouts. Just get stronger and your arms will get bigger.
I like it. I love it. Okay. 2 living legends in one live. CWS 07. Excellent. We have my boy Nicozy in the house. 2 of my faves. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you for being a channel member, of course. Okay, so we have questions coming here we'll enter another one here before we get started. DJ Slick, do you guys think the new changes to the Amex Delta cards only benefit Delta loyalists? To you, Luke, what do you think?
Absolutely. I think if you are a Delta loyalist, I think the cards likely got better. I think if you're somebody, let's take me, for example, I fly out of Columbus, Ohio, and I don't have a kind of front runner, a leader in airlines. I have to take the deals. It doesn't benefit me at all because when I start auditing my trips, I haven't flown Delta except for maybe once last year. I used to fly them all the time. So yeah, I think the changes, if you are a Delta loyalist, those cards got better.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, I think the co-branded cards are meant for the brand itself, and I think they just made it more that way itself. And so that's the way the community, that's the way the issuers are going, is they want to force you into one co-branded system. And if you go into that system, you start to get a lot of benefits if you get those higher tier cards, because they want you to spend more money on those annual fees. But they'll kind of entice you with those benefits, which could be beneficial, but you have to travel a lot for those situations to happen to give you that max amount of value. A couple of things here. So Jason P.S. Stan, did you cancel your Amex MS Platinum? And if so, any regrets? I did not, but we will get into that in a moment and tell you why the MS Platinum is still something that's going to stay in my wallet for a long time. I know this is something that you may cover in the future too, but Jason P also says, Luke, what is your setup for 2024?
You know what? My last couple of videos have kind of hinted towards that and put a lot of that on display. And I think the biggest theme from my videos lately is that setups change, times change, and your needs change. And you would think at my age, everything would be kind of be steady Eddie. But even since putting those videos out, my household kind of situation has changed. So we're going to have to stay tuned for those videos. I have a couple really good ideas, but really nothing is set in stone just yet.
Okay. I think that's good. We'll probably touch on that a little bit, but things do change a lot. That's for sure. And so luckily for me, I think mine's pretty stable just based on the way I spend. But of course, depends on what you're looking for. We have a couple super chats coming in. We have Mr. Keith S in the house again. Congrats on 15K subs. Everyone give Luke a round of applause here for that 15K sub. You work really hard for that, brother. I remember watching you a long time ago, maybe like a year or two before I started my channel. And then, it's really great to see you, get more subs and get more, video editing or improve the videos you used to have. It's just been a great thing to see for you and your channel.
It's been a long journey. And like I said in my community post, we have a really, really great online community here. And for any of us to get subs or to get any type of movement to progressive, it's because of the people in the community. And just so they know, like guys like me and Stan, we learn at least as much from you guys as we put back out. So that's karma. I just thank you guys because we do have a great community.
I agree. Well, thank you so much, Keith, for that. Mr. Dollarman also with $10 super chat. Thank you so much for the bikini fund. So I think you and I, Uncle, come to get bikini ready at some point soon. Enjoy the live, gentlemen. Don't worry, I'm getting 6% cash back from Amicus BCP on this. That's awesome. Solid, definitely a solid card. 6% online shopping, definitely worthwhile. I think it's streaming services. Excuse me.
Yeah.
We have John who's joined as a new member. Thank you, John, for becoming a YouTube member for our channel. The channel, of course, if you, that was pretty cool. The channel gets memberships, and if you have, I don't know, just maybe it was auto. I don't know what happened.
I don't know why I did
that. Was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Memberships will get you kind of high priority for comments, as well as memberships get you the questions you asked for are these lives. They will go first off as well. And so I know we have a lot more comments on, but we're going to go ahead and get started with some of the questions because we got a lot going on here. So this is going to be Luke and I's question answer for this Saturday morning, February 17th, 2024. Before we get started with that, we have another super chat from my boy Anthony Venture in the house. He says, best community on YouTube, $20 super chat. Thank you so much. Stan and Luke, we thank you. Well, thank you, Anthony. We appreciate you and your lives. I know me and Uncle Luke have probably looked at your lives in the past and been like, this is a pretty fun way to do things. And so we're really happy that you, as well as people like Chad Money Minutes and Dugraz, have led the charge in the very common live streams that you guys do. So thank you so much for that. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. We actually, again, want to thank everyone for commenting on the post, whether it be support messages or questions. There's tons of people here that left their thoughts and support. So we have AP 2290 as well as Filmo78, who I believe I think I saw one of his chat messages down here. They say epic. Well, thank you so much for that. We have on the bottom here random account and what's the point saying oh snap or oh wow. Of course, we have Cesar Joel saying greatness in one live stream, the royalty of the credit card game. We're all royalty here. We're all here to learn from each other. And I think, we have, like Luke said, one of the best communities on YouTube. And so let's keep learning from each other because that's really, really important for us. We have Mostly Free Travel who says, awesome, this will be fun. I'm going to try to be there. It's right before I head to the airport. So hopefully Mostly Free Travel, you're able to come. By the way, I did follow you on Instagram. She's got some great tips that
she's big time.
That's good news, good content, great kind of news feed. So I get a lot of great tips from her. So if you haven't checked her on Instagram out, check it out at Mostly Free Travel. Obviously, Luke here's in the center because he can't wait. he's here, so that's great. Thank you, Luke, for coming. I appreciate that.
No problem.
And then Mike Hirty says, Uncle Luke and Shifu stand. I think he said meant Shifu stand, but I can't be the Shifu because obviously Ben Hedges is the original credit Shifu. But I appreciate the support as well. We have our buddy Leo Prito tossing $100 at stand. I don't know what that's in line of, but maybe this question here will help figure that out. Mr. Herr Munz wins the member of the day. He says, yes, I showed this to my boss and gave me the day off so I won't miss it. What I took away from this comment was that maybe I should move to Germany because their bosses really treat you well. I don't know how you guys are in the United States, but I feel like if you told your boss, I want to take the day off for a live stream, they may not want you to do that.
Well, we're definitely not wrestling. We're not going to be wrestling today. Maybe we'll wrestle on the beach in Puerto Rico in bikinis.
Yes, I think you'll love that. We'll sure to oil up and everything. I don't know how good that's going to go for me, but if enough people want that, we'll go and do that for sure.
It's for the cause.
So it's for the cause. So the next question, though, comes from Eagles All Day. Eagle Day actually asks, who is better at rock, paper, scissors, best out of three? And Uncle Luke, if you want to go for this, I'm happy to do this with you.
Let's do it.
So what we want to do for this, so we'll kind of explain kind of the ground rules first here. What we're going to do is, if anyone in the chat wants to comment who thinks they're going to win, just go ahead and say Stan or Luke, and that'll be fine. If you want to send out some super chats, that's also cool too. Of course, everything's been divided 50-50, but just for fun. And so the way we're going to do this is basically hand out like this. And the way I play is rock, paper, scissors, shoot. There's going to be like a little bit of a delay, so we'll try the best we can. But while we have people kind of putting their, I don't want to say placing their bets because I don't want to, encourage that kind of behavior. But, if you want to predict who may win that, we'll do one question first to kind of get those in, and then we'll go ahead and get started here. So the next question comes from my boy, Spencer Johnson, who is blowing up on YouTube as always. Let's go, dude. This is going to be great. To get an idea of both y'all's perspectives here, can y'all explain your why behind playing this game? For example, I know Luke using credit card points to make memories with his son, but I'd like to hear more about your bigger purpose behind all this as well. Stan, thanks, y'all. So I know Uncle Luke put a video out, I don't know how many months ago, but he talked about his credit card why. And I think that was a really eye-opening video because it really shows how much, we can share the love when it comes to points and miles. And so I think that that's great. And that's actually the same thing that I do too. Of course, I don't have kids yet, but it's really about experiencing things you wouldn't normally experience for cheaper. I'm always against saying free travel because it's really just highly subsidized travel. Because for myself, I actually don't mind going to economy hotels and paying on cash. So if I go to a Fairfield or a Courtyard, I whip out my Ritz-Carlton card, get 6x on the cash stay, and get those points. But if you ask me to stay at a Ritz-Carlton or a Waldorf Astoria at $800 or $900 a night, or even something like a all-inclusive $1,200 per night resort, I would never do that, like out of pocket. That's something that's too much for me. However, that's more accessible to me with points and miles. And so that's really why I do that. And we can also obviously share that with our loved ones, our spouses, our kids. And so that's really why I do what I do. What do you think, Uncle Luke?
Yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. I think a lot of us really, the primary reason is we can go do things we wouldn't normally be able to do. And for me, a lot of that does have to do with my son. And I've spoken about this before. I'm a very marginal husband. So it kind of allows me to creep up into that average space. If my wife's having those stressful times or whatever, like last month she had some family issues and some stuff going on, and I said, it's cold here in Ohio. You have all this stress going on. Go grab a bag and go down to Key West for a couple of days. When you can do stuff like that for your loved ones, it just really pluses up life, And I did hear someone, like a meme or something, a guy says, life is normally like right here. Well, I like to be right here. So points and miles in this game allows me to be right about here, where I otherwise might not be able to, or I'd have to give up and sacrifice too much to get up there.
Absolutely. I mean, booking those Singapore Airlines first class tickets at $10,000 a pop for just points is just That's you can't get any better than that. That's just really, really great. And getting those 15 to 27 point redemptions too are also very good. Okay, so you have some people here actually. We're gonna go back to here to the rock, paper, scissors. So I think that we have some bets placed. We have Filmo saying stand for the win. We got Dollar Ben saying Stan looks like a master at this. Anthony Venture says I got Stan. I think he'll do some subliminal messaging to trip up Uncle Luke. We got John, though. John's up for Uncle Luke, which is very, very cool.
Okay.
We got Keith supporting $5 on Luke. Luke uses a rock. Stan uses scissors and Luke uses a rock. I think that's
why do I have to be the rock?
We have Mark Henderson here saying Stan uses Uncle Luke, and we have Keith S says, or the pan says, Keith, that's nah. The doctor's going to operate. Okay, so let's do this, Uncle Luke. Are you ready? Okay.
I'm ready.
So again, we're going to count 1, 2, 3, rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. So this is here.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot.
Correct. Okay. I'm going to try to get in the camera so it's good. So ready? Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. All right. Scissors against paper. So 1-0 stand to Uncle Luke.
You guys are right.
So we got to, well, we're not done yet. It's just 2 or 3. Here we go. Okay. What? Here we go. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Oh, no.
What? Did I lose?
I have paper.
Okay.
So paper beats rock. Okay.
Not my game.
Uncle Luke. Well, it's okay. You can wrestle me next time, and I'm sure that'll go in a different direction. So thank you very much for playing that. But it looks like it's going to be the answer to that question is going to be myself. It looks like I am better at rock, paper, scissors, best out of 3, at least for this time around. Okay. Filmo says, Stan. I also have this little banner I created where I have this, where I win. Yeah, I win.
I like it.
So there's that. So thank you so much for playing. Okay, so let's go back into the questions here. So we got something called a rapid fire round. And so there's going to be a lot of questions I think we can answer pretty quickly for you guys. I don't want to say they're straightforward, but they're questions I think that are pretty easily answered. So we're going to go through a number of these very quickly. Real quick, we got my one of my buddies here, Monty Lou, 2 of my favorites on YouTube. Appreciate the collab. Of course, Monty, thank you so much. If you haven't checked out Monty's channel, he's an up-and-coming YouTuber, so definitely check him out and check out his videos. He definitely travels a lot, so he has some good knowledge in this game too. Okay, so let's go with the first question, which is, they hate me, which I think is a very unfortunate name. Hopefully they're just disappointed in you, not just they hate you. But he asks, should you lower credit limit 20,000 plus on multiple chase cards to support future automatic approvals? And just to give some context to this, what he's referring to is Chase always has a maximum credit card limit they give to people. It's nothing that's set in stone. It's basically based off of your income. The quote is 50% of your income that you state on the applications, but it could be variable. And so when you get to that limit, they basically auto deny you for cards. So Luke, what do you have an answer for this question, would you say?
I think unless you're extremely deep into the chase game, then I use the expression you're really majoring in the minors. I don't think you worry about credit limits until you have to. It's just we're putting too much time into things that matter very little. Chase will normally approve you for a credit limit up to your income. So even better than lowering your credit limits, just raise your income.
Absolutely. That's definitely one way to do it. For me, I actually don't like lowering credit limits because that credit limit you've already earned. And so the thing about lowering your credit limit is that, yes, you will get the automatic approval maybe, but it's not something that you're automatically going to get. So really by leaving your credit limits the way they are, you're actually putting the ball in your court, because you can always call the recon line, ask why you were denied, and they could say, oh, it's because of credit limit. Then you can actually shift things the way you want to, as opposed to taking out the credit limit first and then getting denied for whatever reason and then just losing that credit limit because you just voluntarily decrease that as well. Keith S says 100 people in the chat. Hit the like button, everyone. Absolutely. Thank you, Keith, for that reminder. I'm going to go ahead and just drop this banner here. If you're getting value from this live stream or you like hang out with me and Uncle Luke, don't forget the like button to see if you're getting value. So appreciate that so much. And of course, we have Mr. John here saying, I think if it were played in bikinis, Uncle Luke would have won. Yeah, well, we're going to have to
much better shot.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so next question is going to be from Chris V. Chris V writes, "My boy Steady, setting my alarm to February 17th. My question for you and Uncle Luke is which credit cards you would use for parking garages, particularly for monthly parking permit? Thanks." What do you think?
Well, my surface answer is the Chase Ink Preferred or the Amex Green Card or anything that has a generic transit type category. But I think this is a really good time to point out maybe a tip. If you're going for a sub and you need some spend, maybe you pay that monthly parking. Maybe you pay 6 or 8 months on it, just to help hit that sub. That sounds like a really good opportunity for that. Or maybe a little more fringe case is you use a Chase Ink Cash and you purchase some Visa or MasterCard debit cards and you pay for a few months on that parking permit. You're going to get ×5 UR points.
Yeah, that's actually true. I didn't even think about the welcome offer thing, but you're right. I think if you prepay a lot of those uh, expenses, it really will help you get to that welcome offer minimum spend requirement because that's something that can be very expensive. It's a monthly thing. I agree definitely that Chase Ink Preferred or Amex Green are really good options. They definitely have that transit category. What I like about Chase and Bank of America specifically is that their travel category is very inclusive. It has travel and transit. So when you look at the travel category, they are saying travel and transit. It's just not like explicitly said.
Right.
And so my answer to this question actually is my Bank of America Pre-Rewards Elite credit card because it has that 3x or sorry, 2x travel category, which is bumped to 3.5x with the Platinum Honors situation. But that's what I use for all of my parking. Actually, I use parking a lot because I park at the airport when I fly for work. And so I'm there for like 5-6 days. And I can actually use you can reserve it online. So I can actually prepay for future parking stays too at my airport, which is really helpful. So definitely that's the card I would use for that. But now that I think about it, Uncle Luke, maybe when I get a new card, I should probably maybe prepay some parking, get some
Yeah.
head start on my minimum spend requirement for sure.
Yeah. If you know you're going to have to park every month and you need to kind of create some spend, it's a good way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we're back here to the next question is question number 6 from Keith S, who, by the way, has commented to subscribe. So thank you for that. Please subscribe if you can. He asks, Luke, is Chase 524 a good thing? And so what do you think?
This is my opinion on Chase 520. I do think it's a good thing for them. And I think they give you a trade-off. And I don't know if anyone's really mentioned this or not, but Chase creates the 524 rule to force folks to prioritize Chase credit cards. And they are really good at cross-selling. So when you get a Chase credit card, a lot of times you're going to get a deposit account, maybe an investment account. You're going to walk into the branch. But I think they give you a trade-off. Chase says, hey, you have to get our cards first, but we're going to let you churn them. And we're not going to give you a bunch of heat if you want to purchase gift cards or you want to do these little things that don't really affect Chase, but maybe some issuers like American Express won't let you get away with. So I think it's a trade-off. You prioritize our cards. We'll give you a little leeway for you optimizers and you gamers.
Right. I think that it's definitely good for Chase. I want to give you context too. So I made a video back in September of last year where I actually said why Chase 524 was a good thing. And so Keith and I have been going back and forth for the past 6 months about this, about is it a good thing or not? My stance on Chase 524 is that it really helps limit the amount of cards you get, which is not something that a lot of us in the credit card enthusiast space want to hear. But I think it helps because if it wasn't a rule, I think a lot of us would be ending up with 25, 30, 35 cards before we knew it. It almost sets a barrier so that we can limit our spending and we can limit the number of cards we get and be thoughtful and strategic about what we do with credit cards. And so that's my stance on it. Of course, you and I differ in a way that, your hard pulls are not as important to you. I value mine very highly. It may be because I haven't bought a house yet. That is probably part of it, or any kind of loan in general, I guess. But, it's definitely something that could go either way. But I think it does put a limit on things so that you can really be strategic about what you do.
Sure.
So, okay. So that's the answer for that, Mr. Keith. Next, we have the artist. The artist asks, thoughts on the new changes to the Amex Green Card with respect to the bonus, and how would you refresh the card to make it more appealing to the average credit card user? And so, just to give some context, the Amex Green Card did refresh their welcome offer terminology, where you must have the Amex Gold Card, or so if you had the Amex Gold Card or the Platinum Card first, you're no longer eligible for the Green Card, kind of like the family language we've seen on all the Amex cards moving forward now, except for the Hilton card, which is the last bastion standing here without the family language. So, what are your thoughts, Luke?
Well, first off, I think the Amex Green Card is underrated. I think it's a really good card. I think the Clear Credit, and a lot of people can debate whether the Clear Credit is worth it. For me, the Clear Credit is absolutely worth it. So it kind of pays for the Green Card, and the Green Card has the travel and transit. It's pretty diverse. So I think it's a really good card, and 3 times when dining. I don't think it needs to be more appealing for people who really want to use it. As far as the changes, I think Amex has really just put it out to the credit card world that, hey, there's going to be a lot less gaming and a lot less churning of our cards. If you want to be part of the Amex ecosystem, you're going to do it our way, and we're going to reward you with what I think is the best customer service in the game. And in my opinion, probably the easiest way to really rack up transferable currency points. I think you can just really get a lot of MR points, get a lot of great service, but they're going to force you to play the game their way. And I also think, this along the same lines is they have a business model. They're going to make you use it. They're going to give you high annual fees. They're going to offset it with credits, and they're going to make you work for it. So if you're not interested in that, I don't think there's a way to make those cards more appealing, because I think that's the way American Express is going. And I think the people who are on board are going to benefit from it. And I think a lot of people are kind of going to leave and say, hey, this is not for me, which is understandable.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, Luke. Before we get to my answer, I want to just highlight the super chat from Mr. Filmo78 with a very specific $5.24 super chat in honor of me dropping below 5.24 in 2 weeks. So congratulations, Filmo. This is like, we all know the pain about Chase 524, even though I say it's a good thing. When you're trying to guard to get under that Chase 524, whether you want to get that Inc. preferred with that, 100,000 UR point bonus, or the CIC or the CIU 90K welcome offer, it definitely takes a lot of patience and perseverance. So I hope you've got planned the next card you want to get, probably from Chase. And maybe if you want to share that, you can share that down in the chat. But thank you so much for the $5.24 super chat. Also, real quickly, Chad Money Minutes hops in and says, hey, what's wrong with 30? Nothing, man. Nothing. I'm just, I think if there's 30 cards, if that works for you, that's totally cool. I know that a lot of us here actually have a lot of cards, 30 plus. I only have, I think, 19 at this point. But as you do more and more and play this game more and more, you will end up getting with more cards. And so it's just a matter of, can you balance all those cards with, those charges and that sort of thing. All right. So back to this question here. Thoughts on the new changes to the Amex Green Card? I think the only way to make it more mass appeal to different issuers or different people would be to lower the annual fee. I don't think it's going to happen. They do have that clear credit, like you mentioned, Uncle Luke, which is helpful. But it's hard for me to take this card seriously because it's got the 3X on it when you have cards like the Wells Fargo autograph card, which also has 3X on it. Yes, it's Amex, it's got the MR point transfer. Wells Fargo autograph should at some point announce their transfer partners, although they're just kind of playing with it at this point. But because you have a similar point earning card at the same level, to pay $150 for that as opposed to paying $0 for another, there's just it doesn't make sense to me. If they didn't want to lower the annual fee, they could also add a gas category. And there was also a bunch of replies on this particular comment about adding a gas to that could make it better. I think we can all agree that the gas category is missing in the Amex ecosystem. You have it on the business gold, but it's not on a personal card or anything. So that would be something that could be helpful for the green card to make it more available to other people.
Blue Cash Preferred will give you 3% in gas.
That's right.
What if
That's right.
The green card will also give you some lounge access with a $100 credit to Lounge Buddy, which isn't the easiest thing to use, but that could probably get you a couple different the club passes or something.
Yeah, it's again, I think Amex does a good job giving you more value if you can use all the credits that they offer on the
Yeah.
card. Oftentimes, though, it's not as straightforward as that. Very case in point, it's gonna be a $300 Equinox credit on the Platinum card, which not many people use or, like, are gonna bother with, so there's that part of it too, but I think that's kind of I agree. I think there's, some changes to happen to the green card to make it better, but it depends on if you can make that work for you or not.
What if they gave you 2 Centurion passes a year?
Ooh, that would be
And that
nice, kinda
could
like yeah.
that would give you a sample, and I think a lot of people would I say this, I think a lot of people will visit that and say, "Oh, I have to have this."
Mm,
And maybe
mhm,
they move up.
mhm. That's true. You could do that. I mean, that's what the United Explorer card does with the United Club
Yeah,
passes. They give you 2 free ones every year, and that may actually be very helpful because it's hard because you can't buy your way to Centurion Lounge. You have to
right.
actually get the card to have it. So at least the United Clubs, I think it's $49 or 50. I think it's $59 now. I can't remember. It's something very close to that. So you can kind of put a value on it. But I think you're right. Having the Centurion Club passes may be a very great way to make that card more uh better for more people, because that would be one way to at least be able to test out the Centurion Lounge and maybe even convince people to go and get the Platinum card because they like it so much. Real quick here, we have John here. I want to address this too. I have to disagree with the rest of the creators. The Amex verbiage states you may not be eligible, not you are not eligible. To me, that means you still have a chance for approval. And John, you are absolutely correct. It does say you may not be eligible. So there is always a chance. And because it is a soft pull, you can always apply for it. And if they say you're not well eligible, you can just say cancel the application. But from my perspective, I think it's something that we should just take as face value, because not everyone's going to be in the may not camp. Some people may, some people may not. But I think taking it for as are not is a great way to plan out your strategy, because you don't want to get a platinum card and then go back and want a green card. So you want to strategize that out and just understand that you may have to go in a certain path, and that's the way this Amex has been going in the recent future.
Yeah, and if you've ever worked around
Okay.
attorneys, that's legalese for you're not getting a bonus.
Okay. Fair enough. There it is. Yes, they want to leave it open, just gonna give you a little bit of, like, help, but not particularly. Okay. We have Cesar Joel in the house, who's here, obviously lifting a lot of comments and being very, very active. Thank you so much for that. He says, Epic, one question to Uncle Luke. For how long does he think the platinum will be out of his wallet? Can't wait to see his video on why he got the platinum back in his wallet. And so I want to kind of step back, because you did make, Luke, a video before where you said, I'm going to cancel my platinum, I'm going to cancel my gold, and I'm going to keep my Hyatt business card. And so that was a little while ago. Things may have changed since then. So what do you have to say to Cesar today?
Cesar, I guess I just have to repeat that my life is my home life is really in constant flux. And I'll give you an example for this. When I formulated a strategy for moving down these no annual fee cards, it was coming from a place of budgeting the family's money, trying to be a good steward of my family's money. And since then, and you have to take in consideration that uh, my wife is back to work. She's a realtor now, but for 4 or 5 years, she stayed at home. When I developed this kind of mindset of frugality and that, but she is like moving up the ranks of realtor world, like really fast. And we've discovered that she makes a lot more money than either one of us thought she would. And obviously your wife has a say in your overall spending strategy and your traveling strategy. My wife really likes the escape lounge at our local airport. My wife really likes lounge access at the Centurion. So we have kind of put that in the reconsideration line, whether we're going to be canceling the platinum at all. The plan is to cancel it. But like I said, obviously she has a say. And if she says, hey, I'm making a lot more money than we thought I was going to be, and I want platinum and I want lounge access and I want to keep these benefits, I'm going to have to take that in consideration. And I know my videos might seem wishy-washy, but they're genuine. My life does change that quickly. And if she wants Centurion Lounge access, guess what, man? She has to get it, especially if she's making that much more money, and the annual fees are less of a factor with that second income. So as far as how long will it be out of my wallet, let's just hold off on that question because it's not out of my wallet just yet.
It's not over till it's over, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Nifty Ninja pops in saying happy wife equals happy life. That's for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see.
I subscribe to this, especially because I'm getting married next month, and so I have to make sure that keep her happy for sure. Okay.
Yeah.
We also have a super chat from Mr. Brad Groover. Thank you so much, sir, for the $10 super spot. Brad says, just got under 524, and I want a Chase Ink card, but I also want the 5-night offer from the Boundless. The 5-night offer ends relatively soon. I'm worried about getting both in a short time. Thoughts? So I think it has to deal with the availability of the welcome offers. So the Chase Ink card's a great card. No doubt about it. The 5X office supply stores is phenomenal. Great offer. So I think the offer now is 75,000 points. Correct me if I'm wrong, Uncle Luke, or anyone in the chat. But that's the standard offer. So it's not the elevated offer, but the Boundless has that elevated offer. So if I were you, I actually would go for the Boundless offer because that's a solid offer if you have stays that you think you do in the next 12 months at Marriott hotels. It doesn't come around too often. That's kind of what I would say. I don't know if Uncle Luke, you have a different take on that, but that's what I would do if I was him.
Of course I do. If this question is directed at me, get them both the same day. For me, it's never going to be a question of should I get this card or this card. Get both of them. I don't have that conservatism in me as far as the credit card game. I don't have a what do you call it, a roadmap. If you want the card, get it. Now, for the 5-night offer with the Boundless, I would not get that card unless I had a redemption I wanted to execute as soon as I got it. And this is why. Those expire, and they're capped at a certain points level. So unless you know exactly what you want to do with it, I would hold off on it because I've seen so many people, they either can't find what they want to spend those 5 nights, or even worse, they end up forcing that redemption and going on a trip they may have not have otherwise wanted to go on, and they end up spending a bunch of money just because they want to use it or lose it. So short answer is get both, but only get the Boundless if you actually have a redemption you can execute for sure in the next 12 months.
Yeah, that's really wise advice there, Uncle Luke. I think a lot of people resonate with you as well. You have Sendo here saying, I'm a big fan of opening multiple cards at the same time, as well as David William, who says, agree, without a plan, don't get the card. I will just mention, though, one thing is that the Ink Cash and the Boundless, I want to say the Boundless MSR is 5,000. I want to say the Ink Cash is 6,000. So that's 11,000 and spend in 3 months. I think that's the only thing I would say about that. If you can make that, then that's totally cool. But 11,000 in 3 months, it's kind of hard for some people. So it depends if you can do that or not. Of course, you can always do the strategy we talked about before, where you buy monthly subscriptions for like longer down the line to kind of make that better. But that would be a lot to think about. But of course, if you can make the MSR both at the same time, obviously Ink Cash first, Boundless second, to make sure that 524 is respected, that would be the best way to go. I want to mention here, Cesar says, thank you for answering the question. We're doing that. It's perfect. And then Thomas Barculo says, I'm sure she'll be twisting your arm all the way into the lounge. And I can see that as well. Also for myself, for the Platinum card, I've always said this a lot. I love the Platinum card. I use the lounge at least 6 times a month. And 3 of those are going to be the Escape Lounge in Sacramento, which it's not the best lounge. It's pretty small, but I eat meals there every time I go. And so if you use the lounge at least 6 times a month, there's 12 months in a year, it's 72 times in a year. That's a lot. And that's without even counting the credit. So it depends on your lifestyle too. I do have the Morgan Stanley version of that card. And the bonus of that is that authorized user card is free. So my fiance has an authorized user card. And so she can go to the Cinder lounges or the escape lounges on her own without me being there, and also bring in her own 2 guests for the escape lounge as well if she wants to. So it's a really good deal for both of us. And because of that access investing account being gone now, it's very hard to get the MS Platinum for a reasonable amount of money. So I got to keep it open for as long as it exists, essentially. But of course, if my traveling winds down a lot, I may consider canceling it. But as for now, it's going to be staying in my wallet for the foreseeable future.
Hey, Stan, I think you said something that a lot of people might not realize too. That not only do you have access to the Centurions, but the Centurion's little brother, the Escape Lounge, you still get 2 guests. And a lot of people either fail to bring that up or forget about it. But if you do have access to that smaller lounge, but they still have food, they still have coffee, they still have drinks, you'll still get that 2 guests. And if you can utilize that, then that's definitely a factor, like you said. A small meal and a cup of coffee at an airport is not cheap.
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. Oops, sorry about that. So that's the answer to that question. We have Victoria comes in saying, love the wisdom of this community. That's awesome. We also have John Baker here who says Amex Everyday Preferred has a gas at 3x. Oh, thank you for that, John. I didn't realize that there was an MR point earning card that earns gas. So that's actually big. But you're right. If you have to hit that 30 transactions for the month for the 50% boost, so I think it's 1 point. No, it would be 2x. I'm like having a brain fart right now, but basically you have to have a boost. I know it would be 2x, to get that 50% boost. But yeah, I mean, that's something to consider for MR cards for sure. I know Chad Money Minutes did a video on this a while. I want to make sure I highlight his comment here. The green card is pound for pound one of the best Amex charge cards out there. It is to lifestyle what the gold card is to food. And I don't think he's wrong. I think if you want a cheaper version of the platinum card, it's got that food category that we tend to not look at. That can be really helpful for people to have like a single MR earning card at 3x for both dining and travel.
Yeah, I think the key is there in MR earning card. And if you're interested in earning MR points, then you likely consider them to be very valuable. And you most likely consider them to be at least twice as valuable, maybe 3 times as valuable as a regular cashback card.
Right. I think that's 100% true. Okay, so I think we're good with this question. I'm going to take this down to the next. I think we're at a break now, so we're going to kind of go back and zoom into our cute faces, as they all have said. I do want to cover some questions. I apologize for all you in the beginning that I missed some of your comments. It's I'm just trying to make sure I get as much as I possibly can. I'm going to kind of scroll back all the way to the back to make sure I didn't miss anything. And so we'll start here with, I think you just asked the CWS07. What percentage would you have to earn for your major spending categories to forgo the points you could have earned for travel? Example, 3x versus percent for dining. And so what do you think about this question?
It's 5% cashback. I'm not interested in cashback unless it's 5%. And that's just across the board. It's not verse this or verse that. If it's not 5% cashback, I'll take something else.
Yeah, I agree. I think 5% is really what you're looking for when it comes to cashback. Of course, the points can be evaluated more from 1 cent per point to 2 cents per point, depending on how you use them. But really, if you want to get the best return on all of your spend at the easiest way possible, getting that 5% cashback set up with as many categories as possible is going to be the way to go. Now, it's up to you if you want to have that type of complex setup, because it is going to be complex. You're going to change cards in and out every quarter. You're going to have maybe 8 to 10 cards to cover every single category at 5%. It's doable, especially if you get multiple cards like the Citi Custom Cash or the Bank of America Customized Cash Rewards card at the Platinum Honors level. But again, it depends on kind of your tolerance for having that simplicity versus complexity argument. Next question is from Vijayan Balasubramaniam. He asks, according to you, I guess you and me, Luke, who is the best travel partner for Chase and Amex? I think this is more for you because I don't do as many travel partner stuff, but I know you do a ton of that. So what do you think is the best for Chase and what's the best for Amex?
I don't think it's a one size fits all for everyone. They both have just unreal, amazing value with some of their transfer partners. I'll go ahead and get it out there. For Chase, everyone suggests Hyatt. And they say, well, with Hyatt, I can get 2 cents per point or 2.5 cents per point. And that's awesome. But with Chase and American Express, you can get 10 cents per point with Air Canada's Aeroplan. Air France, KLM, Flying Blue, Avianca. You can get it depends on how you travel. There's nothing wrong with transferring tons of UR points out to Hyatt. A lot of super smart people do it, and it's a great way to get good value. But you also have to consider that there are some transfer partners or travel partners that you can get insane value if you're interested in that. If you want to be average, by all means, be average. but it's hard. I think on a lot of our channels we talk about the hitters. Aeroplan's a hitter. Air France is a hitter. Avianca, Life Miles. Turkish used to be. Turkish did a devaluation. And it's a tough question. So the best travel partner is going to be subjective to how you travel. For me, the best transfer partner with Chase, it probably is Hyatt. With American Express, it's probably Air Canada. And that's when I want to fly to Europe and stay in a 2-bedroom suite with Hyatt. So if you want to do something different, then your partners are going to be different. I think most of them have a place for your consideration.
Yeah, I like what you said, Luke, because it's really about what your travel plans are and what you're trying to do. Because, for example, if you use Aeroplan, but Aeroplan doesn't have a transport to where you want to go, it's not going to really matter. Same thing if Hyatt is going to be your best, I guess, valuable redemption option. But if someone like me, for example, doesn't stay at Hyatt, it's not going to be really helpful. If that's even though it's the best, it's not going to be something I'm going to do. And for me, I wouldn't go out of my way to stay at a Hyatt if it's going to be inconvenient for me. And that's just my personal preference. So I totally get that. I think that's a really great answer to that question. Mr. Michael. Oh, sorry.
Can I the CWS kind of had a follow-up. He asked
sure.
if 5% cash back better than 3 times points, 4 times points. No, absolutely not. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying I won't consider cash back unless it's 5%. And in my opinion, 3 times points, 4 times points is going to be more valuable than 5% cash back. Really, the only time I'm going to consider 5% cash back is if it's 1 point, maybe 2 points, or if I'm on a cash back kind of vibe. If I'm turning the faucet on for cash back for a month, then I'll consider 5%. But no, to answer your question, absolutely, I do not think 5% cash back is better than 3 times points.
I think it brings up a good point that you brought up in one of your videos, Luke, where you talked about it used to be team cashback versus team points, but we're moving towards a situation where it's team simplicity versus team complexity, which, I think travel would be the more travel would be the more simple versus cashback could be, cashback is more simple and travel is more complex, although there could be some crossover, obviously. But the 5% is simple, but the thing is you have a lot of, you have a lot of cards, like it may not be enough value. You have to really, in a travel setup, do a lot of work to really get those valuable redemptions. And it's not going to be as simple as just redeeming for cashback.
Right.
Yeah. So I think we're generally a lot of conversation here. So Mr. Prado asks, are category earnings even worth talking about? The game is all about subs. And so I think that there is some truth to that. I want to say that you're not always going to be working on a welcome offer. That's just been my experience. And so as long as you have a core setup to fall back on with good multipliers, then I would recommend that. But if you don't have that, then you're just always going to welcome offers. Eventually, I feel like there's going to be a point where there's not going to be a card like that for you, and then you'll have nothing to fall back on. What do you think about that, Uncle Luke?
In this game, in this space we have a lot of young people interested in finance. If you're 23 years old and you have a good income, then subs will be your world for the next 4 or 5 years. One of these days, you're going to be a 46, 47-year-old dude with 40 credit cards, and you can't get any more subs. And then there's a whole bunch of in between. So I think categories earnings are worth talking about. Are subs better for a lot of people? Yeah, absolutely. I do agree with what Mr. Potato is saying. If I'm 23 years old and I can get a sub every 3 months, then why do I care what the category earnings are? And you're absolutely right. Fast forward 15 years, when you've went through Chase, you've went through American Express, Capital One doesn't want you, and you still want subs, then those categories are going to matter. Or if, like you said, you want to buy a house soon, you want to take a break on those new accounts, but some people might want to take a break for 2 years, get all those inquiries off, get everything squared away. During those 2 years, those categories are going to matter.
Absolutely. And Sendo actually agrees to. He says when you're gardening, yes. So, like we said, when there's no welcome offer card to get, you want to have that stable core setup where you can fall back on and have those really good multipliers. I do want to mention Joe Barretto did sponsor a $5 super spot. Thank you so much, sir. This is for grazing, not gardening. Okay, I guess it depends on what you're looking for, but yeah, I can see that. Thank you so much, Joe. Really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Boricua forever.
All right. Okay, good. So I think we covered a lot here. Let's go back to the questions because we do want to start on kind of our sets here. So the first question set's going to be credit card setups. That's the theme of the questions we have here. So a lot of these are going to go into that. So we just talked about having a core credit card setup, and we're going to kind of switch up a bit because this next question is from my boy Matt Welter, who does ask, let's go. You guys each have 5 credit cards and have to create the best possible setup designed at maximizing travel upside. Which cards would you go with? I'll throw it to you first, Luke. What do you think?
All right. So let's say I'm a young guy. I like traveling. I'm doing well for myself, and I want to figure out how to maximize my travel upside. To me, that means I'm not as much interested in the accumulation of points and miles or categories. What cards can give me the biggest, coolest, most luxurious trip? And I'm going to go with the American Express Platinum, the Big Daddy. I want the lounge access. I want the fine hotels and resorts. And I want the customer service. And I want everything that comes with American Express. Number 2, I'm going with the Chase Sapphire Reserve. I want the lounge access that comes with that. I want the travel protections that come with that. And I want the transfer partners. Well, let's not worry about transfer partners. Number 3, I want the Capital One Venture X. Again, I want the lounge access. Guys, if you haven't noticed, but I want access to every lounge there possibly is because I have a real problem with not being allowed in spaces. I want to be allowed in those lounges. Number 4, American Express Hilton Aspire card. I want to stay in the Conrads, the Waldorfs. I want the food and beverage credit. I want the diamond status. I want upgrades, all that good stuff. And my number 5 might surprise some people, but I want that high-end American Express Marriott card. I want the platinum status there. I want the benefits that that card gives. So with that setup, I have all the lounges. I have all the extra kind of cool programs, and I have benefits and status with the 2 largest hotel chains that I care about. And I have a lot of annual fees.
That's a lot of annual fees, Uncle Luke. But no, I think that's great though. That's a great setup to really capture, like you said, it's really what you prioritize, right? So you're prioritizing lounge access. You're prioritizing those high hotel status. And clearly, you may feel a certain way about airline credit cards because there's none of that in your setup. I don't want to. You want to comment on that a little bit?
Well, I will stand on this for. I have to use my perspective, and my perspective is I can't give any airline any undue loyalty because I fly in a smaller airport that doesn't have a primary carrier. And then here's the thing, man. You could be a Delta loyalist. You can be an American loyalist. You're still probably going to take, Singapore Airlines to Frankfurt, Germany. So you're not using those airlines. You're still going to take, whoever Air Canada is partnering with. You're going to take Etihad. You're going to take Emirates. You're going to do Emirates from New York to Greece. So what does your United status have anything to do with that? I mean, it does help, but I don't have any reason to give any airlines any loyalty unless it's something that's super convenient and easy for me to do. Hotels, on the other hand, you're going to have a really hard time not being able to use the benefits and status from Marriott and Hilton. Might not be the best for you, but to me, that's going to be very difficult for that not to work out for you on planet Earth. Not just in the Midwest or Southern Florida, but on planet Earth.
Sure. And we all know that internationally, those statuses do go a long way, especially with upgrades and benefits and perks. So having that's really helpful. And that's actually a good segue into what I'm going to ask, or I'm going to say about my own 5 credit card setup, which is a little bit different. It's not something that I think a lot of people may predict, but maybe you will. But it's really about focusing on hotel credit cards and hotel benefits. And as you all know, I'm a big fan of the Marriott system. So the 4 cards that I'm going to use are obviously from the Marriott system are number 1, the Ritz-Carlton card. I think that's a highly underrated card because it has benefits and status from Marriott. lower annual fee of 450. It's got that 300 travel credit, or I guess airline style credit you can use to offset it. But what's important is it gets the free night award after every year after the first card anniversary, but it also gets you that priority pass. And that priority pass is one of the most powerful priority passes in the game, secondary to the Chase Sapphire Reserve. And so you do get that lounge X with a priority pass. You get free authorized users all the way across, with each getting their own priority pass with their own 2 free guests, obviously lounge permitting. But you can get into the Sapphire Lounge with that. And it won't get you into Centurion lounges necessarily, but it will get you into a lot of the other lounges that accept priority pass, including the Chase lounges. So that's the Ritz-Carlton card. I do agree with you. This is the one card we have that's similar, is the Marriott Bonvoy Brilliant card for that platinum status at Marriott, also generating the 85K free on award. I do also want to put in the Marriott Bonvoy Business card, which is the Amex card, as well as the Marriott Bonvoy Boundless card from Chase. So you have some Chase cards, some Amex cards. So you have that opportunity to use Chase cards internationally. So you don't have that foreign transaction issue where they don't take American Express. So that's helpful. But now you have a setup with those 4 cards that you're generating 2 85K free night awards every year, and you're generating 2 35K free night awards every year. And if you look at the cards together as a whole setup, it covers a lot of major categories at the 3x or 2x level. Not the same, of course, as MR points and UR points, but if you're gunning for a certain hotel chain or certain brand, that is very helpful. So you have, for example, 3x on groceries on the Boundless card, up to $6,000 a year. You have 4x on restaurants and gas on the Bonvoy Business card. You have 3x on the Brilliant for the flights. So you can really start to churn out a lot of points with Marriott. Having said that, I understand Marriott points are not as valuable as, for example, Hyatt or even Hilton for that matter. But again, it's a matter of personal preference. So you have a card set up where you can have spending multipliers that are pretty good. You're generating all these different free night awards every single year. But I have one card that's missing. And actually, for me, I think an airline card is helpful because you have to travel somewhere to get the hotels, right? And so I actually would choose the United Explorer card. And the reason why I say that is because you get the 2 benefits I think are the most important, at least to me, and easiest to use, which would be the priority boarding and the first free check bag for you and a guest. Priority boarding for me is like a must because I love getting into the aircraft and being able to sit down and put my bag where I want to. I don't have to like be anxious about not having space for my bag, or where am I sitting, in the front or the back? What's my boarding group going to be? I have that sense of peace and I guess tranquility that I'm not going to have to worry about that. And then obviously with the first check bag situation, you will get as many value back as many times as you do that. One thing I want to mention though with Marriott though is if you actually get from platinum to titanium, that's a separate story where you have 40 elite night credits. You only need 30 more to get to 30, I think it's 35 more to the titanium elite. You also get United Premier Silver at that point. So that would actually negate the use of that United Explorer card. So you could replace that with something else if you decide to stay at Marriott's for that long of a period, knowing that even award stays count for those elite night credits. And so those are the 5 cards I would use for my setup. And it's totally kind of out of left field, but I think it would work out if you're really valuing what I just talked about in terms of those credit cards.
Yeah, especially if you have the benefit of kind of focusing on Marriott. If you can focus, and Marriott has a gigantic footprint, so you can. I think it's great. I mean, you absolutely.
Yeah, and it looks like Chad has a setup as well. He's saying he's going to go Amex Plat, Amex Green, Aspire, Venture X. See, it's very close to what you have, actually, Uncle Luke, except he has the green instead of one of the cards that you had. I can't remember off the top of my head. Looks like it covers every category with transferable points, no foreign transaction fees, and remember, traveling isn't all about planes and hotels. You have to still live when you get there, which is very true. You definitely want to make sure you have the cash back to do all the things you want to do while you're there.
My only thing about that is I don't know if the Amex Green will help me maximize my travel upside. It may help me earn points, but as far as what will it do for me while I'm traveling?
I think he's like, is at that restaurant 3x restaurants. That could help, I guess, for multipliers. You got the 2x on that Venture X too, so I guess that would be helpful. Um, but yeah, I think that's a pretty good thought about the setup as well. But we all have different setups, so
Sure.
it's going to be very, very interesting when we kind of look at that.
No, that's definitely an awesome setup.
Yeah. So thanks for that, Chad. Miss Pino also adds that the +2 United Club passes every year. That's true for the Explorer card. That's also very helpful because United doesn't have any ability to get into them except for like the United Club card or if you pay for it outright. So it does help to have those club passes as the Platinum doesn't cover it, or sometimes the Loungewear doesn't cover it either. Keith says, I think it depends on what city you fly out of and cities that you fly into most often. I think the CSR would be a hitter flying out of New York City and Party Pass restaurants. I'm PCing to it in May when I first can. I think he's talking about the CSR, which is, I think, everyone's new favorite card these days.
Yeah,
All right.
I think that the Platinum would, if in New York City, the Platinum's going to get you. There's a Centurion and all the, and maybe not in Newark, but there's plans to open a Centurion. So with the Platinum, you get the Centurion in LaGuardia and JFK. And if you're flying Delta, you'd get access to the Sky, which I'm a big fan of the Sky Clubs. If I flew Delta, I would probably forego the Centurion Lounge to go to a lot of Sky Clubs. And the only way to really get into there is the Platinum card. Well, besides the co-branded Delta cards.
Yeah, of course. DC and Don DC also says United Business Card and Gateway Personal. This is a really nice one because it's a combination. You get, I believe it's like 5,000 miles or something like that. When you have a business card as well as a personal card, you get some kind of annual credit to that or annual mileage boost. So it's definitely something to think about too if you're a United fan. We do have a super chat from my boy Nkosi, $10 spot. Thank you so much, sir. Stan, does Amex want to tell us how, what, and when to spend? Example, biannually, quarterly, monthly, weekly. The MR Points Luxury International Travel proposition keeps me in man. Luke's congrats on 15K CSR.
Thank you, sir.
CSR
we'll see
for you? What do you think?
We'll see. I've been going over it a lot lately. And you know how when you're a lot of us in this game, sometimes we go to bed at night thinking about this stuff. And like trying to go to sleep the other night, the CSR really popped into my head for a few different reasons. I have to consider it, but we'll see. It's right now. I can't give you an answer, but I think April 1st or May 1st will be the decision on what I do with my Sapphire Preferred, which I do not need at all. So the Sapphire Preferred will either go to a Freedom Flex or a CSR. And here's the thing, Stan, the Freedom Flex, I know so many people really like it, but the 5 times on a capped spend, it does not move the needle for me. It just it just doesn't. Like $1,500 spent in a quarter doesn't really garner my attention, especially when I can get that same 5 times with my Chase Ink Cash all year long.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, it depends on the person and your spending, clearly. But yeah, I think that it depends on if you have an uncapped versus a much higher cap, that's going to be much better for you in terms of planning out the way you spend money. And so having that limited cap is hard, especially if you have, one card like that. If you have like multiple freedoms and like a Freedom Flex, that's fine. But there's also you have to start to divide things up too. That's also kind of
more work.
So
it's more work.
Absolutely. Jake Mercure's in the house. He says, awesome conversation today, guys. I got to bounce now, but watch from the beginning. Wonderful. Well, thanks for coming, Jake. We appreciate you so much. Okay, so we're going to go to our next question here. This is from Vijayan, excuse me. I see most great credit card reviewers like you talk about trifecta versus duo. Would love to see some content on cross setup with optimal value in the personal side only that covers many categories for someone who is beginning to build their setup. So what would you recommend, Luke, to someone just beginning to build their setup? What kind of cards would you think that you'd make for a duo or a trifecta?
Okay, so if we're talking about someone starting out, I'm going to make a couple assumptions. They're younger in age or in credit age, and maybe not at their peak income. And this is why I say the income. I think the duos and the trifectas are less effective for higher income people. And I say that because I think if you're making $40,000 a year or $50,000 a year, I think maybe you stick in one ecosystem to build those points up. If you're making $200,000 a year or $500,000 a year, I think you have enough spend there to spread it across several different ecosystems and get the advantages there. So I think as far as duos and trifectas, I've always thought that the Chase trifecta, while it's probably not for me and it is kind of boring, I think it's a great way to start the game. I think Chase introduces folks to a fairly simple system that has a lot of different options. And when you have those options, you can, as an individual, you can say, I really get a lot of value by cashing these points out for cash and buying Christmas gifts or buying myself a watch. But when I do travel, I want to learn how to do these transfer partners. And on top of that, if I want to be a cruiser, I can probably book that through the Chase Travel. I don't know if you can or not, but you can. There's just a lot of different. Okay, I say I'm not sure, but I always thought that was an option to get maybe a 1.25 or a 1.5 cents per point for things you can't really transfer to. So I don't think it's and I also like Chase Bank as a personal bank. I think there's enough of them. You can walk into them. I think they're a decent bank, and let's keep it real. As far as our banking system, there's Chase Bank and there's everyone else. As far as the big hitters in the space, but at the same time, the duo, and if we're talking about duos right now, the popular duo is the Capital One duo, and a lot of people are on the fence whether they enjoy partnering with Capital One or not. But that Capital One duo is very simple for a newcomer or someone just beginning. So I think when you first get into the game, and I might be all over the place, but I do think you start the game with no annual fee cards so you can age your credit and never have to worry about it. So I think once we get past that, I guess I am all over the place with this one. This is a tough question, but I think your optimal value is going to be a lot different for everyone. But I think the recommendations of folks that stick with the Chase trifecta to begin, I think, is a solid, simple answer.
Yeah, I agree. It's tried and true for a reason, because you do get into the Chase ecosystem very quickly. You get to have great ways to redeem all of the points that you have. I would just also add that the Capital One duo is a new up and coming thing for people to have. It's not as easy because it has that Capital One Metro X with that very high annual fee. But if that's something that you can tolerate as someone starting out, that would be an option too. So it kind of depends. And for people like myself, like I don't really go for Capital One cards because I don't have a good sense of if they'll approve me or not. Because a lot of people with great credit scores, great incomes, or a lot of credit cards, they tend to have a very shaky, like, I don't know if you're approved or not. Absolutely. And as I said before, like having guarding my hard pulls, I don't want to be pulled 3 times for nothing, right? That's kind of something I want to avoid. And so that's something I'll just add to that question too. Someone here, let's see. Fimo says Cap One Duo is great for player 2 that hates credit card juggling. I think that's true. Very simple setup. Joshua Ing says, to be honest, if someone is starting out with a no annual fee setup, you could probably get away with the Capital One Saver 1 and Wells Fargo Autograph to cover most categories. Very true. That's a really great combination. Can get built for some rent and some catch-all too. I think the theme here is just mostly no annual fee cards because there's really no problem getting those, and you can always get value from those as well.
And another great thing with the Chase setup is you have the option to downgrade that if that $95 is not for you.
Right. Absolutely. DC not DC says P2S Chase trifecta. I have City trifecta. We travel to 4 continents annually, need tons of points and miles. Yes. I think towards the future portion of when you are, doing that more often, that's definitely helpful. But for someone starting out, I think it's probably better to stick with a Chase trifecta and call it a day. All right, so let's go to the next question here. So it's Joe Mono. He says, yes, it's finally happening. Yes, we are here. We are live, me and Uncle Luke. So, before I forget, go ahead and if you're here, just do us a favor. Don't forget to hit that like button if you're getting value. Really appreciate it. We appreciate all you guys being here. There's 150 of you right now in the chat. So thank you so much for your support and everything. And really, we are just here to answer your questions as best we can. We'll try to get to as many as we can in the live chat, obviously, too. So he says, yes, it's finally happening. Can't wait to watch. The question I had is, I understand you guys are shifting to cancel high annual fee cards that don't bring as much value to you. With current state of airline credit cards and point devaluation, as well as so sign on bonuses, could you see yourself getting a high annual fee airline card just for the perks like priority boarding or, example, Sky Club access? Luke, what do you think?
No. Yeah, and that's a short answer. And I've tried. I had the American Express Delta Reserve. I wanted to be a airline loyalist. I wanted to be a big time status member with an airline. It was, like I said earlier, I fly out of Columbus, Ohio, which is not a hub for anyone. I think Southwest has the most flights out of there, and most of you guys know how I feel about Southwest. But I can't afford to show enough loyalty to an airline to pay their annual. Now, can I get the Delta Reserve and get more value than the annual fee? Yes. But is that worth what I have to do it? Not likely. I have to stick with transferable currencies. And lucky for me, American Airlines flies some convenient routes for me, and they make their game, so to speak, their status very easy for me to attain without even flying. So, no, I am not ever going to recommend a high annual fee airline card unless you are someone that lives right next to the Atlanta airport and you only fly Delta, or you live in Dallas and you're only going to fly American. If and then, like I said before, you're probably not going to fly American to Tokyo, so maybe you're going to miss out on some stuff there. Though I'm not interested in high annual fee airline cards.
Yeah, I agree with you, Luke. I mean, it really is with all these changes coming up, they're really focusing on that very, very core loyalist, the one that really flies a lot, and not just the loyalist, the business loyalist, the one that has the money
Mhm.
that can spend
Yeah.
on their airline and that can really they travel like once a month, twice a month, even 3 or 4 times a month. I think for me, I would also never get a high airline annual fee card. I may consider the United Club card if I was going to like using that a lot and need club access because that can be okay depending on how many times you to United Club. I think I would more likely be wanting to do mid-tier airline cards, like I mentioned. I think getting the free check bag, getting the priority boarding, I think is helpful for those without status. So I would do that, but I don't think I would ever go for those higher annual fee cards for airlines because I don't think it'd be worth it.
Like you said, unless your employer or your business is paying for all the flights and you are flying that same airline quite a bit.
Yeah. Echo. So I think we're done with this set. So we'll go back to our faces again. And so here we are. Hello. I know that IDEX, you had the question. I sorry I was ignoring you for half a bit, but we'll get it now. So would you to mention if the Amex Platinum is worth it for non-travelers? I want to get it, but I don't travel, but I do like the credits offered. I know you're probably some strong feelings about this, Luke. What do you think?
The strange answer to that is it is very likely that that card is worth it for you if you don't travel. If all of those credits line up for you, would I recommend you getting it if you don't travel? No, no, absolutely not. That's not what that's for. That card is for folks who want to stay in luxury hotels, visit higher end lounges, and travel quite frequently, or someone who just wants to appear to people that really don't know what they're looking at to have, you know, to have some type of social status or a level of income. So if you don't travel, no.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think the Amex Platinum is for travelers. Like the only reason why I have this card is because I go to the lounges multiple times a month. Because even with that, with any credits offered, it doesn't even matter. It just I do it because you can, and it's helpful. It's designed for the frequent traveler. Now, having said that, I want to just point out if you get the 150K offer and you can meet the MSR, get it because every credit card is worth it the first year, and you can trial it the first year and see if it fits you and then after the
Mhm.
first year, not just cancel it, right? So there's all these options you can do with this card or any card to just try it out, and you can see right away if it works for you or not. So thanks for the question, IDEX. I want to go back to a little question from before. David William asks, built in 5% cards a good setup, but I'll have to deal with Adam's kids at Ontario Airport. Yeah, so I think it's a good setup if you don't want any annual fees and you want some kind of travel partners. I think the built card's a great system for that. Uh, Obviously, Adam's kids are Adam's kids, and
Mhm.
Uncle Luke has a certain feeling about those. But I
I
know, Luke,
listen.
you value lounges a lot.
Well, here's the thing. As soon as you brought in Adam's kids, there's no setup worth hanging out with Adam's kids or Adam. There's just like, no, I'll pay cash.
Okay. There it is.
But yeah, built in
Yeah.
5% cards. Yeah. I mean, I am still under the impression that if you, or of the opinion that if you fly domestic economy and not super often, I think 5% cash back cards will likely be a better choice for you mathematically. Because everybody seems to forget that 5% in cash can buy a plane ticket, and they can search for the best deal, like maybe through Expedia or a third party or whatever. I just think a lot of people get into travel credit cards and kind of ignore how much value a 5% cash back setup will get you. And this goes back to the cents per point doesn't matter argument. And this is why it matters. Because if you're not getting a good cents per point, you're likely better to just use a 5% cash back card.
Right. Absolutely. We have Mr. Dalton here saying, hey, Luke and Stan, what card would you each recommend that packs the most perks and benefits for the lowest or no annual fee? I feel like our answers will be exactly what's on the thumbnail, but Luke, I'll let you take this one first.
That's tough, man. I most perks and benefits for lowest. Man, I was not prepared for this, but are we? I hate to use the term effective annual fee, but I think if you're doing, you didn't say travel perks and benefits. And you got me, Stan. This is a tough one. My
All right.
surface thought is the Capital One Venture X
Mhm.
because it gives you travel protections, it gives you primary rental car, lounge access, and a basic 2 times on everything. And people will argue it's an effective annual fee of 0 because you get a $300 travel credit through the portal and 10,000 bonus miles. So if we're talking about travel, I think that's a decent answer.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, it's really a balance of what you feel is important. I personally think it's the U.S. Bank Altitude Reserve. It's not typically what you think about for the perks and benefits of travel, but it does get you priority pass access for 8 visits. You do get a really nice travel credit, and you get a ton of ways to pay for things and ways to redeem your earnings for that 4.5x using RTR. And so you have a lot of options with that one. I think that would be my answer to what I think would be the best in terms of most person benefits for the lowest or no annual fee. And like you said, Uncle Luke, the Capital One X has that, $300 credit. It has the 10,000 anniversary miles. And so it does make it into a lower or almost no annual fee card. And so it kind of depends on what you're looking for.
Could also throw in the Wells Fargo autograph card, cell phone
Very true.
protection, a lot of times 3 categories, and it's free.
And hopefully some transfer partners. We'll see.
Maybe.
Maybe. We never know. Parallax asks, I think it's more to me. Are you still involved with B of A in the Premium Rewards Elite? Yes, I am. I will probably change that card soon to the Premium Rewards card. The Elite card is good, but I think that I could probably save us some annual fees from $550 to $95. It's a pretty big drop, and so I prefer to do that. I think moving forward this year, just like Uncle Luke has talked about, dropping a lot of annual fees on his setup, because I think that's the theme this year: simplifying and not paying as much to the credit card companies. All right. So one other question here is, can you guys talk about the Chase Marriott Bonvoy Boundless 5-night bonus offer and the best way to redeem it? I would just say this about it. I know we discussed this earlier, that it's easier to have an idea of where you want to go before you get this welcome offer. I don't know if there's a best way to redeem it in terms of the best properties to redeem it. I will say that Marriott is kind of annoying in that when you use their point system, it's not as variable as the other ones where you can get much better cents per point in Hyatt and Hilton, for example. A lot of their redemptions are mostly fixed in price at 0.8 cents per point, unless it's some like outlier day or holiday or something that they want to fill up that room for. But I've seen for the most part, it's about 0.8 cents per point for most redemptions. So you just pick whatever you want to do and just do it for free, or quote free, with the free night awards.
Yeah, the only thing I would add to that is if you're looking at that card, you shouldn't be asking us this question. So if you're looking at that card, it should be for a redemption you've already picked out and you've already determined that you want to execute. If this is me and I'm a Marriott person, I think those are 50K certificates, right? So it'll be 50K certificates. I would want to use that in an all-in kind of scenario. Family vacation for 10 days. And I'm going to do this in a sense where 5 nights on certificates and then 5 nights on points where you'll get 1 night free, right? Marriott has a 5th night free on points. So I would go all in on the big 10-day family vacation with that. I'm not familiar enough with Marriott properties and their points prices because I don't generally stay at them. But like I said, I wouldn't look at this card unless I already had that redemption in mind.
Right. No, that's definitely true. Okay, we're gonna go to some more questions now, and so we're gonna go to our second set here. Question set 2: What ifs? By the way, I just want to also remind everyone that since you're already here, don't forget to hit that like button. We really appreciate that. There's 171 of you in here, which is an all-time high for this channel. So
Wow.
we really appreciate all of you and your questions. I know we're trying to get to as many as we can, but we'll do the best we can for both the questions in the live chat as well as for the canned questions from the community post too. So let's start with our next one here, which is going to be from Keith again. If you could only have one ecosystem, Amex, Capital One, Chase, or Citi, not built, where would you want to have 1 million points or miles? Cashback is not an option. Only travel with portals or transfer partners. Luke, go.
Okay, so I get 1 million. Okay, let's just say it. I get 1 million UR points or 1 million MR points. Now, if we're in an option or in a situation where I can't have any other points, that's going to make it really tough. I think Chase is your safest kind of choice because if I have 1 million UR points, I'm going to get a very long time where I don't have to pay for a hotel with Hyatt. And the remaining transfer partners, Amex shares a lot with Chase. So I can still get a lot of business class to Europe or Asia with Chase. I personally don't transfer MR points to hotels just because I don't think that transfer ratio is worth it for Hilton as much. I don't think it's worth it for Marriott either. So I think if I'm going to get the most use out of it, I'm going to go with Chase. And I say that with this caveat. If I could get 1 million MR points and use Chase credit cards to offset that, then I'm going to do that, if that makes any sense. But if I can only have 1 million points and I have to pick an ecosystem, I have to go with the safe, boring, same old decision than Chase.
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, I was going to say Chase also. I mean, it's the easiest way to redeem points. If you have the Chase Sapphire Reserve, you get that 1.5x on the travel portal, or the 1.25 with the Chase Ink Preferred or the Chase Sapphire Preferred too. You mentioned all the different transfer partners, which are very helpful. Obviously, Hyatt gets the most value, but there's also a lot of Marriott options. There's an IHG option. So there's a lot of good options for Chase for redemptions if you want to diversify, which is helpful. Sucks it doesn't
I will
have
say this too.
Hilton, but
Yeah, I will say this too. Give me 1 million points in any of these, and I'm killing it. If you give me a million Citi thank you points, I'm killing it. You give me 1 million Capital One points, I'm still killing it. So
yes, these are all great options. There's no wrong answer here, but yeah, if I were choosing, it'd definitely be Chase. Next question comes from Sean Credit. Excellent duo. I'll be at work. What do you predict will be the revamps for the remaining Amex cards set to receive changes? I'll start with this one. Just I know that we talked about the Amex Gold a lot. That's going to be definitely one that's coming up. I know that myself, as well as I believe Anthony Venture, also made a recent video about that. You know, the Gold is going to happen. It's going to happen most likely this year. We saw the Delta Platinum and Platinum Business go to 350. I have no doubt in my mind that's going to be the actual answer for the annual fee. Will be at least 350, if not more. We know the Business Gold is now 375. So that's in line with the Business being a little bit higher than the Gold card. But I think they'll also add more credits. I think it's interesting because we can parallel the Delta cards with the Gold card. So the Delta cards had that rideshare credit. So now it's not just Uber Eats, it's just rideshare. I can see that happening too. I really want the semi-monthly credit to happen. Not just because like I think that it's sad that it's something that is within the realm of possibility. So that's why we're all about that. It's not something that we would say, oh, that won't happen. It could happen. I think it's unlikely, but if it does happen, I think it'd be hilarious. But that's one card I think that would change in Amex. What do you think, Luke?
I think Amex has shown us their hand. Amex is no longer going to allow you to have what they call sock drawer cards. You can't have an Amex card and just bring it out once a year. They're going to kind of move their cards in a direction where you have to use them. Look at the Delta cards. You have to use the Delta card to get the value from the Delta card. I think they've showed you that with the Platinum card in a sense. Here are the credits. You have to use it for the credits. With the Gold card, I think you're right. I think the annual fee does go up, and I think they introduce more credits to offset that. And I think Amex has a formula where you can't sock drawer these cards. If you get them and sock drawer them, we're going to make money off of you with annual fees. If you get them and you use them and you optimize the credits, you're going to share success because, let's face it, those credits are subsidized or free for American Express, and they're going to get those swipe fees. You're going to get the benefit of those free or subsidized credits, and you're going to break even and earn a ton of points. But you're not going to part-time these cards anymore. And I think a lot of creators and a lot of people in the game are going to complain about it. And I think a lot of casuals and a lot of guys that aren't quite optimizers are going to make out just fine with them. So I only think those changes are going to be negative for the folks that do want to sock drawer cards or have 25 cards and only use 2. I think Amex cards in the future, you're going to have to use them.
Yeah. And they're also forcing you into going into one ecosystem. The Hilton cards had those changes back last October too, and we're still waiting on the Hilton business card, which, by the way, their website's still it's missing a lot of stuff. So I think it's like they're in the middle of changing it, but they decided not to do it. But I'm pretty sure that's going to change too soon to probably mirror the Surpass changes. Like the 95 will be 150. And pretty much the same stuff, but we'll have to see what goes with that one too. Okay, I think we have a break now. Good. So we'll go back to our pretty faces, and I think we have some questions here in the chat to cover. Let me kind of see where we want to get started here. We have Michael Pythium. I know you had a comment early on. Sorry to get your comment beforehand. Thoughts on the Atlanta Centurion Lounge? Recently went. I think it's a game changer. I've heard a lot about that lounge being really, really nice, but I have no immediate plans to go to Atlanta at this point. I don't know about you, Luke.
Here's why I think it's awesome, but it's not a game changer. And I hate to take the negative side on this because I like to be the upbeat positive. What are there? Eight terminals in Atlanta, gigantic airport, right? If you have the Platinum card, you get access to Delta Sky Clubs, which are located every single terminal. You can't throw a rock and not hit a Sky Club. Where's the Centurion Lounge going to be? 7 terminals south, or how far am I going to have to go to get to that Centurion Lounge? And how many Sky Clubs with the Nashville chicken salad sandwiches, which are awesome? How many of those am I going to have to pass to get to this really great Centurion Lounge? No doubt it is a good thing, though. Any more lounges is always great. But if I'm connecting in Atlanta, I don't know if I'm traveling to the Centurion Lounge and passing these Sky Clubs.
Well, here's the thing, though. The Delta Sky Clubs also have a limit now. Well, soon. So once you run out your limit, maybe you got to go to Centurion Lounge at that point. It's like an overflow, you know?
Yeah. I don't fly Delta enough to hit that limit. So I think but some people probably do. Yeah.
Yeah. Mason, my boy Mason asks, how do you handle airport lounges when traveling with family? Do you skip the lounge and just go to a priority pass one?
See, this has only been a problem in recent. Before Amex made changes, it wasn't a problem. You got to guess.
Mm-hmm. So, well, also, like you mentioned before, the Escape Lounge has 2 free guests too. Mm-hmm. So if it's Escape Lounge, that's different. But Centurion, yeah, I can see. You just have to have authorized users on your card.
Here's some of the things I do to kind of help that. I do check the lounge situation before we get there. If I can get everybody into a lounge, fine. Like he's saying, sometimes you can't. If I can't get into the Centurion Lounge, my wife has an authorized user card. There are going to be situations where it's worth paying $30 to get Carlos in the lounge with us. Let's take a The alternative, we go buy airport food that costs $75 for some Wendy's or something. It might be worth it to just pay that $30 fee. If that's not worth it, uh, my 7-year-old does have a Capital One Venture X card. So does my wife. So in that aspect, we all have lounge access there. We all have a full priority pass. The only issue is a Centurion lounge. That's the only issue I have, and we have to decide whether it's worth paying that fee or not. And honestly, sometimes it's gonna, even though it's a bowl of cereal and a cracker, it might be worth the $30 just for the peace and quiet and to get away from Adam's kids.
You always got to be aware of Adam's kids. That's for
Yes,
sure.
you have to have them. You have to be tracking where they are because you don't want to sit next to them.
Yeah. Well, Keith has also refused to wait in any line, so we hear
I
you,
don't blame
Keith,
you.
and I think Luke is on the same. I don't mind. I don't like waiting in like 20-minute lines, but it looks like Chad had some issues here. He was at Atlanta on Friday, and the line for
Nah,
train was 45 minutes to an hour wait, and that's like
no, thank you.
that's a situation. Of course, it's a new lounge, so
Yeah,
there's that part of it too. But if there's like you said, a lot of Delta Sky Clubs available, just do that instead.
I did my time in the military. I waited in lines to go wait in lines to go wait in another line. I'm not doing it anymore.
Fair enough. Okay, so we're gonna go back to some questions here. So the next question comes from, it's basically on hotel credit cards, is kind of the theme of this set here. So the first thing is going to be from Mr. Damon. Damon asks, "Awesome. Should I bite the bullet and apply for the boundless with the 5 free nights? Harder for you to use for me because most of my travels for the next 9 months are already booked, and upgrade to the Ritz in a year, or wait for the Brilliant to have a 150K and free night certificate, or 2 FNC bonus again. He wants to get both the Brilliant and the Ritz, but doesn't know if he has the patience to wait 3 years to get both bonuses." We've covered this a little bit earlier in the stream, but do you want to reiterate a few points here, Luke?
Yeah, I'm going to blame Stan here for everybody hyping up this Ritz card because nobody cared about this. This missing card that you can't apply for until Stan brought it up and blew it up. Here's my opinion. That's going to be unpopular. That Ritz card is not going to be around in a year in the same configuration it is now. They put it back out in metal because they're going to reissue it with a $675 annual fee. It's and the boundless. If you have your travel planned for the next 9 months, then there is a real chance you're going to get that card, get the bonus, and you're going to have to scramble around for 3 months and find a 3-month window to spend 5 50K certificates, and you're likely to spend that on something you might not have otherwise did. I don't think it's a good idea. I think if you want the Ritz card, just hold fast. It's going to come out again with a completely different reiteration. Just my opinion. I don't think that's going to be an option to get this card, wait a year, and then upgrade to it. As far as the Brilliant, correct me if I'm wrong, Stan, the Brilliant is the expensive Amex card.
Correct. Yep.
I think it's superior to the Ritz card. A lot of people are not going to agree with me. I don't like the call-in $300 travel incidental thing. That would not work for me. I don't even know if you could give me $300 to call someone. I hate talking on the phone that much. The Brilliant will give you the 85K certificate, platinum status, which I think if you're staying at Marriott properties throughout the year, that platinum status is very, very valuable. I mean, the late checkout to me is super. But I think the Brilliant is a superior card, and I'm not waiting a year to get what I don't think will be available then anyway.
Yeah, so obviously I disagree with Uncle Luke on this one. I think the Ritz card is a really good card. I do agree that I think it may be changed in the future. I don't think it's going to exist at a 450 card for much longer, but we're hoping that it'll stay the way it is. I don't think they're going to get rid of it because Chase wants to have some kind of luxury travel, luxury merit credit card, and that's the one they have currently. But I think if you really want to get the Ritz card, it should be planned out in the way it is now because that's kind of what we have to work for. I don't know if it's ever going to come out as a apply for it automatically card, but the main thing to think about when you look at these Marriott cards is that you want to make sure you get the Brilliant card first before you get the Ritz Carlton card, because there's those terms that say, well, the Chase card, if you have that card, you can't get the Brilliant welcome offer, or if you don't have it for 30 days, you could probably get it. But then you have these situations where you get it, then you like downgrade it, then you upgrade it. It's a lot of back and forth, and you may not even get the card anyway, the welcome offer anyways. So to make it simple, just get the brilliant card first, be patient, and then get the Ritz card after you get the brilliant card. I think back to kind of your first question, where it's about if should you book your or should you get the boundless card first? Harder to use. It's harder because you want to make sure you have travel to do before you book get that welcome offer for the 5 free nights. Because if you have those free nights, they do expire in a year, and so you may not use them, or you may not use them. You may use them for something that you didn't expect to use them on to begin with. So you'd actually be paying more than what you'd expect to be paying for. So my stance to this question is I'm all about Marriott cards. I think that if you wanted to get the Brilliant and the Ritz together, you'd have to get the Brilliant card first. So maybe I would wait in the situation to get the Brilliant card, knowing that you may have to wait to get the Boundless card second. All right. So I think he has a comment here. Why would Chase allow the Marriott Premium Travel Card to continue to be a better card than Chase's flagship card at a lower annual fee? I think he means Amex's flagship card, but again, I think it's going to be rated. I think Luke brings up a good point that it is lower. It's now the Aspire is more than 450. I think it is coming. We just don't know when.
Well, I think maybe he might mean that the folks do consider the Ritz card better than the CSR in some aspects. I think the answer to your question is because, according to Chase, nobody knows about it. Stan's going to mess it up for all you guys talking about it and blowing it up, and it's going to make it go away.
Yeah, no, Keith is like, yeah, I meant the CSR. So yeah, I agree. It's it'll increase the annual fee, just like LA Shadow 8 says. I agree with Luke about the Ritz card's upcoming and unfortunate price gouge. The Brilliant, although more expensive, feels like it provides a premium experience. And I have to agree, the Platinum status in Marriott is really the starting status. It's like basically the equivalent to Hilton Gold, because that's when you start getting those breakfast credits. Breakfast credits on the card. And Hilton Gold, by the way, is way better with breakfast than Marriott Platinum is going to be, because Hilton Gold, it gets you daily breakfast credit. Whereas I've seen in some properties for Marriott Platinum, you could get daily breakfast credit, or you could get just one credit at the beginning and that's it. And so Marriott does nickel and dime you in that way. So I think Hilton Gold is actually a lot better than Marriott Platinum, and more consistent with its value. Okay, so we have that. Next question we have here is from Baba Fisfis, which is his actual name, by the way. Thanks for doing this, guys. What are your thoughts on the value of hotel and airline status these days? And what are the best scenarios where you think someone should chase either type of status these days? We kind of answered this already, but Luke, take it away.
Airline status, I think if I go back to what a lot of old school guys have always said, if you don't have airline status, then you don't fly enough to have airline status. So my opinion on airline status is mostly you don't chase it whatsoever. I did have a video talking about the American Airlines status program, and that's one you can get without even flying. And if that one works for you, like it does me, I think it's okay. As long as you don't change your spending for that. So you're not chasing it. I do want to talk about hotel status. And if you do stay at hotels a lot, I don't know what a lot is, but I take 10 trips a year and I stay at full service hotels. I don't do VRBOs or Airbnbs, or I don't sleep on my buddy's couch. I like full service, and I'll be real honest with you, I like higher end hotels. When you talk about hotel status, and in particular, let's use Hilton as an example, because a lot of folks like the trash Hilton and things like that. If you have what Stan just told you, the gold status, which is a very easily attainable status with a few different credit cards, you're going to get between $30 and $50 a day in a food and beverage credit. So let's use an example. I want gold status. I buy a $150 American Express credit card that gives me gold status. I stay at 10 nights in a hotel, which is super modest. Most of you guys are staying a lot more nights than 10. I stay at 10 nights at Hilton. I've earned $500 or $300, depending on where you're staying. Let's go to the low end. $300 in food and beverage credits for a $150 credit card. And that's not counting any of the credits, any of the points, any of the other perks. you're going to make money a lot of times just with the food and beverage credit with Hilton. With Hyatt, everybody raves about high-end Hyatt status. So you're going to get tons of value there. Marriott, the late checkout with Marriott is insane. If you're a weekender like me, if you do 2 or 3 day stays and you want that late flight back to cold freezing Ohio, that late checkout is money. It's awesome. Here's where I'll end this conversation about airline and hotel status. Airline status will not likely benefit your whole family, your kids, maybe not your wife. It probably won't. My hotel status is going to benefit all of them. When we can have fruity adult beverages at the pool, that enhances our stay because we don't get to do that all the time. We don't have a pool. It's 18 degrees right now. I think, just in short, hotel status, yes. If you can take advantage of it, yes. Airline status, much less likely for you to be able to take advantage of it. And I don't think that's where you should focus your game and your spend.
I have done that. That was a great answer. Look, I have nothing else to add to that. That was really, really good.
I thought about that a
hotel
lot.
status is, yeah, you definitely touched on that on your videos. And yeah, hotel status is really where it's at. Airline status is kind of hit or miss depending on your loyalty. Okay, so question 16, Anthony Venture asked, I want to Stan versus Luke, Hilton versus Marriott debate. And this is kind of what we've been doing a little bit back and forth. The thing is, Luke, you kind of moved on from being a Hilton loyalist to more of a free agent, maybe more of a Hyatt person. So you want to talk about that a little bit, about why you're not as focused on Hilton as much anymore.
You know what? It as far as Hilton, it really could just be boredom. It could be that I'm just looking to spend my time in new places and learn the different programs of other places. As far as Hilton versus Marriott, I don't have much argument because this is how I see it. I think Marriott has the best properties. I think Hyatt has the best higher end status program and easiest to get good value. I think Hilton has the best credit cards. So I really think out of those three, and I also want to say there's other options, but out of those three, I think you pick your poison, man. I think you can't go wrong with me personally. I try to be a Marriott guy. I didn't get a ton of value with my Marriott points. And I will say this is just completely anecdotal, but I got more value with the Fairfield Inns, the Courtyard Marriotts. I got more value on the lower end. And that didn't quite match how I was traveling at the time. I wanted to stay at the Conrads and the Waldorfs or the W's and Ritz Carltons. But I will say that the higher end Marriott properties I've been to, they're big time. I stayed at the Ritz Carlton in Dubai in the marina. I never stayed anywhere like that before. I mean, they are a real hospitality industry property with a real hotelier that went to college and trained his whole life to run a hotel. Amazing, unreal. But I get so much value from Hilton credit cards that it really subsidized my travel enough to where I needed to go there. Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't want to debate the two. I think you're killing it with Marriott, and it's just has not been my, and I did have one bad experience at a Marriott at Disney World, and I've kind of let that go, but that did kind of sway my decision a few years ago. They had we had an issue there, and I did not like the way it was taken care of.
I see. Yeah. I mean, it depends on kind of what you're looking for too. I think it's great that you kind of explained your process and your thought process of why you are kind of more of a free agent and really what you're looking for in hotels. But for me, Hilton is really good for that gold status. Like, I'm not even diamond, but just like you said before, that free breakfast, the daily breakfast alone is just money. Like, you just every day you're like, well, I saved some money on food. Oh, I saved some money on food. And so I think there was a comment here. DC and not in DC says, my diamond status got us $50 daily at the Waldorf Astoria Maui over Christmas. And I don't know if it's a diamond specific, it could be gold too, but you do get the breakfast credit
Yeah.
both in gold and diamond.
Yeah,
So I
the
think
rates
that
are
is
raised at Waldorfs and Conrads and some other, it's like regular Hiltons that we, and also location based. I think Hawaii
okay.
is higher, but yeah, the gold status would have gotten $50 at the Waldorf in Maui.
That's great. I mean, that's awesome. So good for you, DCDs in not in DC. You also have Filmo78 saying that he said, while watching this, I just booked Conrad Midtown NYC with a Hilton FNC room going for $893, which is fantastic. Bravo. Learned so much from you guys. Appreciate you both. If it's from the Hilton Aspire card and you got that 450 from before, it's a huge amount
Yeah,
of money
big
to
time.
get it. It is big time. That's great. So yeah, so for me, I love Marriott. I stay at them all the time because they're just the most convenient. I am willing to pay a premium to be somewhere close to where I want to be. That's just my personal preference. Some people are not like that. I'm at a point in my life where that's okay. When I was younger, certainly not okay. I was like, gotta get the cheapest thing possible. But now that I'm a little bit older, I do want to have a little bit more convenience, a little bit more comfort. And so that the Marriott's always deliver for me. And so I'm happy with that.
Mhm.
Okay, so I think that cuts to the next one. We're just going to keep going because we have 3 more questions, which is just kind of potpourri here. It's not necessarily credit card based, but they're, I would say, credit card adjacent. The first question is from Mark H. Hi, Stan Luke. I'm a fan of both of your channels. I know you may not get very many views as with CC videos or credit card videos, but I love to see content on your investment strategy sometime. And then, Luke, what do you have planned for retirement? What do you think about this, Luke?
Well, first off, I mentioned I have 5 years until retirement from my primary employment. I don't think I'm somebody who's ever really going to retire. I see retiring from my day job as an opportunity to start some businesses, um, recharge my real estate kind of activities, and start making real money. Like I want to quit my job so I can make real money, but I'm going to wait until and as far as investment strategies, my regular job is a government job, so I'll get a pension for the rest of my life, which is rare these days.
Mhm.
But in addition to that, I have a lot of the more traditional. I have a Roth IRA. I have a what we call in Ohio a 457. It's a deferred compensation plan. You know, pre-tax comes out and goes into mutual funds, generic mutual funds like a so it's that, and I also have some real estate investments. I have a rental property, and I plan to at least consider getting another one this year. And so, sort of non-traditional investment accounts, but pretty well diversified. And all that is to what I'm trying to. Part of it is to set my son up with some some things that can help him. I also have a 529 for him. So just about everything you can have, I have. But the goal is to have enough different streams of income that when I do retire, I may not notice it financially. Um, so that's I don't want to change my lifestyle when I do retire. I just want to get more in business side of things and not work for anyone.
Yeah, that's really exciting, especially for you, Luke, because you're almost at the retirement age. Like I just started my career, so I'm basically accruing and building my assets at this point. So it's for me, it's simple. I think David Williams says it just right. Just buy VOO. That's kind of
Yeah.
like my strategy. I do have a rental property, so I do have some rental income. But for the most part, the majority of my income or retirement strategy is mostly investments. So basically, index funds, 60% U.S. large cap, 20% international, 20% bonds and alternatives. I have a little less bonds right now because I'm younger, but that will obviously change as I grow older. But that's kind of the basic thing. I recommend index funds. I recommend S&P 500. Simple is better. I'm a big simple guy. You can see it in my credit card strategies. Same thing for investments. The simpler it is, the better you can understand it, and the better you can really tinker with it and make it like work for you really well.
Do you have any individual stocks, if you don't mind me asking?
I have no individual stocks and I have no crypto. It
Okay,
is all
I don't have
investment.
any
Yeah,
crypto. I do have some individual stocks in my Roth, and they're individual stocks, but they're just the big banks. I
sure,
do believe in the big banks because they keep if they mess up they get bailed out. So I don't know how I can
sure.
go wrong there.
No,
But
that's
yeah,
great. Yeah, I think it's fun to have some stocks just to kind of play around with it. I mean, maybe I will in the future, but it's just not a big part of my plan.
right, yeah. So we're both boring
Yep,
and diversified. So
that's right. Diversify is the most important thing. Next thing is some Jeff. It's a kind of long question. I'll just kind of make it simpler. Actually, we'll probably just focus on that second portion here because more credit card related. Any speculation on when a revamp to Hyatt card might happen, or should I hold out? I think a Hyatt card could really help with possible upgrades, and all my travels for 2024 are at Hyatts. So there's been a lot of talk about this new luxury Hyatt credit card. I don't know if you have any thoughts about that, Luke, about what it may look like or what it may offer for people.
Yeah, I have an unpopular opinion on this, and I don't think the Hyatt folks are going to like it. But what makes you think Hyatt wants to give you a luxury credit card? Thinking about it like this: who has the biggest overblown hype name in travel and credit cards? Hyatt. People are using what I think is a vastly inferior credit card because it comes with a super cheap night certificate that you don't want anyway. And I don't know why. What do people expect from a high end Hyatt card? They make it very difficult to gain globalist status without jumping through a bunch of hoops. So they've kind of gate kept globalist. The only way you can get it is if you spend a ridiculous amount of nights with Hyatt, or you do these different things I want you to do that like they did last year with a built card. We had folks in this game booking dummy bookings for 20 nights to get globalist status. Why does Hyatt want to change that? Now, I do think there will be a higher end card, but I don't think that the Hyatt fanboys should be expecting anything like the Aspire, not anything like the Ritz-Carlton card. I don't think you're going to get a card that gives you a bunch of advantages. I think you're going to get another card that convinces you to spend on it when you should be spending on something else. I've said 100 times, the best Hyatt card is the Chase Ink Cash.
That is for sure. Or the Chasing Preferred, right? You mentioned that one too.
Yeah, but the thing about Chase Ink Cash is I can get 5 times Hyatt points on everything. Or I can use a Hyatt credit card to get 1 or 2 Hyatt points.
That's true.
And as far as the 15,000 point free night certificate, guess what? I got one, and I had to look all day on where I could use it because I don't stay in those lower end hotels. And then we're talking about 15,000 points. I can get that really easy with the Chase Ink Cash for no annual fee.
Right. No, like that's great. It's a great tip. Yeah, I mean, I don't know much about Hyatt, so I'm going to defer to what you say, Luke. But I think it's nice that they may offer it, but we never know until they do it, and so we'll have to see what they do and see how they go for it. But I would say that if you want the best rewards for your points, Hyatt would be the way to go. But like we kind of mentioned earlier, there's tons of value in Marriott and Hilton, and we didn't even mention Hyatt GG at this point. But there are lots of different ways to get great value on your stays. We have the last question here, which is from Bruce Lee Credit. Before I go to that, though, Keith says 185 people watching. Everyone hit the like button, subscribe. Really appreciate it. I actually see 191 on my screen here. Wow. So we're getting to the tippy top here. So we really appreciate you all staying to the end. That's the last question. We're trying to get some more smaller questions down in the comments, the live chat. So drop them down below if you want them answered towards the end of this live stream. But we will go to those in a moment. Last question here is Spencer Johnson's Nick Fury. Now the Avengers are starting to assemble. So I think that's great because Spencer did do a lot of those conversations. That's a Marvel thing.
Yeah.
It's fine. At what point in the credit card sub hunting game do you settle down and say enough is enough? Or do you keep going until you have acquired every last sub you can get, your points and miles loving hands-on? What do you think, Uncle Luke?
You know, like we kind of alluded to this earlier. When you're younger in the game, you can get a sub every quarter. You can get but in the last 3 years, I think I've averaged a sub every month. And that's a bit extreme, but that's kind of how I play this game. And that's kind of where I am now, where I'm not getting any subs. As far as settling down, that's going to be up to you, man, because I just got a sub. I'm waiting for a sub to hit on the Alaska business card. I don't even fly Alaska. So I don't think you need to settle down. I think you can slow down, but there are a ton of regional local banks and credit unions and things like that. I think they have enough to where you can, if you want to pace yourself, you never have to stop. If you go too fast, you're going to have to take a break. But I don't see I don't see the logic in settling down. This is fun for me. It's value, and it gives me something to do it gives me a positive hobby that I benefit from. And the credit card is always changing and evolving. So if you're really into this, you're going to be downgrading, canceling cards, reshuffling the deck, so to speak. Um, you know, you are going to get to the point where you get almost all the subs, especially with the new family language with American Express. You're going to have to do it a certain way. To me, that just adds to the challenge of this game. You
Yeah,
can
I
quit
mean,
when you want.
I agree. I mean, it depends on the velocity too. Like my velocity is around 4 cards per year on average, that for me isn't working pretty well. I have a lot less cards than you do, and so I think there's still more room for me to grow and get
Mhm.
more welcome offers, especially on a lot of the co-branded cards. But again, I don't think it's ever going to stop. I think for me, the main thing is always have a core setup.
Yeah.
Always have something to fall back on because there will be times where there will not be a welcome offer to get just because you don't have a spend to me at this point, or there's not any elevated offers going on. So as long as you have that core setup that you can fall back on, whether it be a cashback setup, whether it be a travel setup, that's the most important thing. But I don't think I'm ever going to stop sub hunting, so to speak, because it is part of the fun. It's what we do.
Yeah.
We will try to find the best welcome offer and go for it as long as we can hit that minimum spend. And so I think that's the end of the questions here. So perfect. So we'll go back to our pretty faces. We'll just answer a few more questions that we have left here in the live chat. So drop them down below if you can. We're reaching close to 2 hours, or a little more than 2 hours at this point. So we really appreciate you being here, and we love doing this. And I'm really also I want to just make a brief thank you to Uncle Luke for being here on this live stream and spending time with me and the rest of the community. It's always fun to have two different perspectives on these questions.
My pleasure. Fun stuff.
All right. So we're gonna go in with let's start with Stephen Marcusili. Marcusili, I think I said. What do you think of this Amex trifecta? Green, BCE, and BBP. BCE, is that every day, blue cash every day. So yeah, I think it's fine. I think you could probably just get away with the green and the BBP.
I agree.
Just because I think that covers everything.
Yeah, I would. I also think it's superior. I would just X out that everyday card because that's not a very popular card. I don't think it's worth the hassle for. I agree with you.
Yeah, the main use of the BCE is the personal version of the MR Point Bank. So if you cancel like a annual fee MR Point card, you have that as like a fallback option. But the BPP already covers that for you, so I think we're good there. Branson Reed asks, "What's your guys' opinion on the Costco City Visa?"
It's very specific. I mean, if you shop at Costco, and this is my opinion on a lot of things, if you shop at a merchant and you know you're going to shop there for a very long time, then a lot of times their credit card will be worth it for you. I don't even know where a Costco is, but at the same time, I don't go shopping. But I think I think there is one, but it might be 35 miles away from me, so it's not going to work for me. If you live 5 minutes away from a Costco and that's where you do your grocery shopping, but I think that particular card, it earns Costco money and it gives you a statement credit at the end of the year, and I think it's four times back on gas. It's going to be a niche case. I would not be interested in it. It's just too specific.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that card either. It's just like you said, the rewards you get at the end of the year. Usually it's a check issued by February. Now you can cash that check for cash at the register, or you could buy it for like statement credit for Costco stuff. So that's an option, but you got to wait the whole year for the rewards. And then you get 4% on gas and 2% on Costco stuff, among other things. But there are plenty of cards that can get you 5% on gas, like the AAA Travel Advantage card. You can get, obviously, the 3x back on US Bank Altitude Reserve because it's a Visa card on everything because they take mobile wallets. You have the customized cash rewards card at Platinum Honors gets 3.5x on Costco as well. So there's a lot of different options that are Visa cards that earn even better than 2x on Costco on the Costco card itself.
Does it have a sub?
Usually it's like a water bottle or like an avocado or something.
Yeah, pass. I mean, even if you are a Costco, big time Costco person, you could do better.
Yeah. Next we have Miguel Baca. What would you want to see from the rumored luxury city card coming out? I know you really like city cards, Luke. I use a city trifecta, and honestly, I'm kind of itching for a more luxury card, but kind of struggle with finding the one that fits me.
I think the formula is there for luxury cards. And if you look at the three big ones, the four big ones, you're going to start with a overblown annual fee, and you're going to try to recoup that with different ways and protections and different credits. So I think with Citi, and I like Citi transfer partners, and I like the Citi setup. I think with the Citi trifecta, it's a great low cost system for cashback or travel. But when you add a luxury card, the only thing you'd have to go back to the Prestige, and they were pretty liberal with the points earnings on that one. I think it was 5 times restaurants, 5 times this and that. That would be great. But it's Citi, so you kind of have to have this almost not expect much from them. I think you have when you Citi luxury card. Okay, good travel multipliers. Let's put some protections back on there for Citi. Let's add a hotel program like everyone else has to get people to stay in the ecosystem. I don't think they're going to hype up the game. I don't think they're going to come out with anything progressive. I think it's going to be a cookie cutter amalgamation of some of these other cards, and it's going to be great if you already have Citi cards to complement it. I hate to be the negative, but I don't see anything earth-shattering or mind-blowing. They're not changing the game, but they did kind of put the game on tilt with the Citi custom cash. So I could be completely wrong. And I also think I've read Citi does have a disproportionate number of employees coming over from Chase, similar to what Wells Fargo had a couple years ago. So, man, to answer your question, man, I'm all over the place. So I think anything they come out with is good. Anything they come out with,
these predictions are always going to be everywhere, right? So we just never know.
As long as it should have a big sub, and it should be at least an opportunity for people to earn and get value. So I think try it out.
Absolutely. So if I end on this question, last question here from What's the Points? It's kind of in your field too, Luke. Since I'm chasing AA status this year, any reason to keep my Alaska business card if I'm not planning to fly them much this year?
Yeah, I think the Alaska business card doesn't have a spend requirement for the companion certificate. I think that's one reason to keep it. Another reason is you may not fly them that much this year, but you're not going to find very many ways to earn Alaska miles. So I would say if money's not, if you're not doing a money crunch, then maybe you keep it an extra year where maybe you wouldn't have otherwise, just because those points are hard to get. And I think I want to say that all your Alaska stuff transferred to American. So if you do end up getting any status or anything, but if you are trying to pare things down and you're not getting value from it, then cut it. I'm not afraid to cancel cards. I'm also not afraid to keep it around one more year to make sure.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, so I think that'd be the last question that we have, but thank you all so much for coming again. Thank you, Uncle Luke, for doing this with us, and I hopefully come back to the stream again sometime again soon. Again, if you got value, don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. That would really help out the video and the channel itself. We got a lot of great people in this chat. Thank you so much for coming. We have Seder Jahel saying great live. We have Zizis Chris saying thanks, of course. And of course, Call Me Lonnie is here. He came late. You can always come back to the beginning, Lonnie, if you want to check it out. We got a really great live this whole time.
Lonnie, we're not going to call you a tardy. You're not even supposed to use that word anymore.
I do want to remind everybody that Anthony Venture's stream has probably already started, but he is have a stream starting with Constantino. So if you have some time, definitely check it out. It's going to be a very interesting live, I'm sure. But again, appreciate you all for being here. And of course, we'll be doing these lives every month on this channel. And so appreciate all of you. And of course, I appreciate every one of you. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye, guys.